joint session of the legislature will come to order. Pursuant to House Joint Resolution number 3, we assemble tonight in the first joint session of the 1985 regular session for the purpose of hearing an address by His Excellency, the Governor of the State of Alabama. The committee has been sent to escort the Governor in the chamber, and he's here if you'll escort him to the podium. It gives me great pleasure to once again present to you the man that is the most outstanding chief executive that I think any state has ever had, our Governor, His Excellency, the Honorable George C. Wallace.
Governor Baxley, Speaker Drake, and members of the legislature assembled in general session, and fellow Alabamians, I appreciate very much you allowing me to appear before this joint session of the Alabama legislature tonight for the purpose of presenting to you and to the people of Alabama my assessment of the condition of the state of Alabama, where we have been, where we are now, and of course I feel we should pursue for the future. But just a moment I'll digress and say that we have felt very much about the people of North Alabama during this disaster. And to the people of North Alabama, we have disaster teams there now looking over the property damage to whether or not we can get disaster relief from the federal government. I want to thank all the local folks in the efforts in that area, along with the rescue squads, the volunteer fire departments, and also those with the state of Alabama. And before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not first express my deep appreciation for the hard work you have done, especially in the past two special sessions, to secure a brighter future for the people of Alabama. I will go into that a little in a moment more. I want you to know that I recognize the hardships and sacrifice you made in coming here before Christmas. When you and I took office, of course, 2 years ago, a dark, heavy cloud hung over our state, and the outlook was grim indeed. In fact, we had just come through 4 of the worst years in Alabama's history, with the exception of the Depression of 1932 in modern times. Yet at that time, you and I formed a working partnership, and we are determined to get up from under that cloud. 1 year later, the cloud was still gray, but in the distance, we could see a rainbow of promise that things were going to get better. Today, thanks to our working together, the skies are clearing up and the sun is beginning to shine on Alabama again, and the future will be even brighter. We stand tonight on the threshold of greatness. In fact, we stand on the threshold of being one of the outstanding oil and gas producing states of the Union right here upon us. Tonight, I call on you to continue that partnership in this regular session, and that spirit of working together so that Alabama can become a leader in fiscal responsibility, a leader in industrial development, a leader in the education of our children, and a leader in protecting our citizens from crime and restoring morality to our society. Working together, we can do that. And I want to thank, of course, Governor Baxley and Speaker Drake for the leadership part they took, especially in the last 2 special sessions when you folks passed what we consider 2 of the finest pieces of legislation that's ever passed this body. And of course, when we took office 2 years ago, The general fund was declared 15% proration, but actually, according to the receipts, it would have been 22% proration. This was the first proration in the general fund in 20 years, brought about mainly by the recession that existed all over the country. Education was in a 10% proration. That means schools were not getting the money that they had promised for supplies and operation. The state of Alabama owed FEMA, the agency concerned with natural disasters such as hurricane, $5 million. Debt service for the Tennessee-Tombigbee-Coosa waterway was not even budgeted. We owed the federal government $109 million for what they call misuse of revenue sharing, and they were demanding payment. I must let you know, though, there was nothing involved in this that was corrupt, anything of that sort. It just went against some of the rules of the revenue sharing program. Money that was earmarked for capital outlay projects has been spent for operating expenses, and reserve funds have been transferred to Medicaid for continuing expenses. In addition to all these economic and budgetary problems, Alabama had an unemployment rate of 16.6, the second highest in the nation. It so happened that we were heavy metals industry had employed great numbers of people in our state. At one time, we had 38,000 steel workers in the Fairfield area alone in Jefferson County. As you know now, we have about 3,000. And the U.S. Steel negotiations, as you remember in the past, broke down. But I called the company's president, asked him to send his representative to Alabama to my office. Then I called Mr. Thurman Phillips and E.B. Rich, who did an excellent job in the matter of negotiating with U.S. Steel. And then they got together in my office. The first 5 hours they negotiated downstairs in the conference room. They then moved to Birmingham. And as you know, they came out with an announcement on the Saturday of that week. They were going to employ 2,500 new workers and build a $115 million caster mill. And the president, a year ago, U.S. Steel in Birmingham, made the statement, you're not looking at merely a new caster mill or another pipe plant. You're looking at the showpiece of U.S. Steel in the United States. And in my judgment, that is going As I said, there was a dark cloud over our heads. The state was in serious economic trouble. You and I working together had to take some drastic action. I want to thank you for saying yes when I asked for your help. We're willing to roll up your sleeves, and with the left arm of stewardship and the right arm of statesmanship, you have lifted Alabama from its serious economic plight so that now we stand at the sunrise of a new day. Through your courageous actions and through very frugal and determined efforts of all of us, we have seen the resurgence of public faith in the economy of our state. We have come from prorated budgets that we inherited when we took office as a result of the recession to surpluses in both the general fund and the educational trust fund. We have replaced budgeted uncertainty, delayed payments, and spiraling unemployment with budget flexibility, fiscal responsibility, and employment opportunity. As we consider the condition of our state government, let us look at education, first at education. I know no greater responsibility we have than to provide the finest quality education possible for our people. Last year we added about $314 million to the education budget. We also added some innovations in our traditional approaches to our educational priorities. For the first time in Alabama, we added a fully funded kindergarten program, and this year I am proposing that we go even further by adding enough teacher units to reduce the teacher-pupil ratio to 20 to 1. Last year, to address the heart of a quality education program, which is good teachers and the ability to retain them, we provided a salary increase of 15%, which was a major step toward the national average. This year, I am proposing a 15% raise increase in teacher salaries in Alabama. We make this proposal with the understanding and the assurance of the people of Alabama that good teachers will be rewarded, and those who do not perform will be given an opportunity to improve. If they do not, they will be dismissed. That is what the taxpayers of Alabama deserve. In my opinion, it also what the teaching profession demands as well. A vital step in our pursuit of educational excellence is the improvement of learning opportunities and the environment of our students. Our teachers are a key element in the process. I am convinced we must have a base salary to attract and retain the most talented young people into the education profession. In the education budget for the coming year, I'm asking for funds to begin the implementation of the Career Ladder Plan approved by the Education Reform Commission. Let me say here that developing this plan has not been easy, but few things that are worthwhile and bring about change come easy. I hope you will consider this plan very carefully, because it is a bold plan that will impact the lives of many future Alabamians. The 1985-86 education budget will total $2,121,731,570. This represents an increase of nearly 45% over the education budget when you and I took office in 1983. The tremendous response increase is possible because of more and better jobs for our people, an improvement in the economy, and better enforcement of our revenue laws. In addition to the increases already mentioned, the new budget to come before you will provide the following: $20 million for school buses, $6 million for library books and supplies, $5 million for free textbooks, $2 million for math, science, and computer education equipment, increased funds for local school boards for operating expenses, additional special education teacher unit to help meet the needs of our special students, a 31% increase in the state support for health insurance benefits for all active and retired education employees, $35 million in the Public Education Employees Health Insurance Board Reserve, and funds to begin a deferred maintenance program in our local school system. In the area of higher education, our budget will provide funds for increase in salaries, programs, and facilities. In the two-year segment, funds are provided to begin a facility program that I will discuss in more detail later. And in the four-year segment, funds are included to begin an eminent scholars program. This endowment will match state dollars with dollars from the private sector. Innovation that I believe will bring highly qualified teachers of scientists to Alabama. Earlier I mentioned deferred maintenance in our education facilities. For too long we have failed to provide funds to adequately take care of our buildings. Beginning with this budget, we can begin to address these years of neglect. I'm also proposing a capital outlay program for all of education to meet the growing and changing needs for educational facilities. While details will be presented to you later, it will provide funds for all segments of education. Turning briefly to the general fund, let me say several emergency needs will be addressed in the general fund budget. We must provide additional money for the operation of new prison facilities in Limestone and Bullock County. We must provide matching funds for the construction of a state veterans home in Alabama. Additional funds are provided for Medicaid and the Commission on Aging to take care of our elderly and our truly needed citizens. And funds are included to provide for employee step merit raises where appropriate. I also think I should say that just a few words about our highway program. Last year, in order to keep pace with the need for matching money to receive our federal highway fund, we had to raise $40 million for the Road and Bridge Fund. And while we were doing this, we also made available funds to cities and counties that was badly needed. As you recall, in 1982, during the campaign which we were all running at that time, the federal government passed a 5-cent tax on gasoline. And they told us that this $350 million that we sent to Washington each year could not be brought back to us unless we provided $40 million a year to match it. And therefore, through some special legislation, the inspection fee of 2%, and also we sold and issued some matching fund revenue bonds. While doing this, we combined some highway bond indebtedness and earned the state about $35 million. We took this money and matched the federal funds. And I'm happy tonight to tell you that during the last 12 months, the state of Alabama has awarded a total of 417 projects with a dollar value of nearly $300 million. And I might say that the inspection fee and the refunding of the highway bonds are going to make it possible for this $1,600,000,000 to come to this state in the period of last year plus 4.5 years, 5.5 years. We will have $1,400,000,000 from the federal. With our $200 million, that'll be $1,600,000,000 road program, along with our other program, interstate and other programs that are ongoing now. This represents these number of projects I mentioned a moment ago, the most projects ever led in a 12-month period in over a quarter of a century. We're replacing and repairing worn-out highway facilities and creating greater safety and convenience for all Alabamians. We're speeding completion of our interstate. In fact, I believe in December of this year, we're going to complete all the original interstate in Alabama, except the spurs that were added since that time in Mobile and Huntsville and one or two other places. But in December of this year, we will open I-20 and I-65 North, which will complete the original interstate system throughout the state of Alabama. In the matter of industrial development, we were number 2 in the nation in unemployment, and we waged an all-out effort to do something about it. During the past 2 years, we had more new industries located in Alabama than in the previous 3 years. This includes such domestic companies as Sikorsky, who announced a $20 million plant for Talis and a $3 million facility for Troy. General Electric for Lowndes County will provide some 300 jobs in the beginning, or that's only part of the program. It's a $500 million start in which they will employ 2,000 workers within this area to build the plant. I have a number of other industries that came to Alabama during that time. Boeing, with 2,000 new employees being built now in Huntsville. Hadco, Scott, $300 million. International, 300, 4 Mitsubishi plants, and also in all 8 plants from Japan announced in Alabama. In Hammermill, a $250 million new plant. And I mentioned the GE. Of course, the Isiki company is building a plant in Montgomery, which is a boring equipment that bores under tunnels for highways and railroads, and also subways. It's a Isiki company out of Japan, and the subsidiary is going to always have an office in Montgomery, Alabama, and they're going to have first 100 engineers. This will be a large industry for this area in the not too distant future. We also have many numerous 25, 50, and 100, and 75 and 100 in new plants that came to Alabama. And of course, in these domestic companies, I'm happy to tell you that our effort to attract industry in both Europe and the Far East, I mentioned those just a moment ago. In '83, one of the largest companies, of course, made the 4 plants, 2 in Mobile and 2 in Athens. And at the present time, we, of course, have a number of other industries we're going to announce in the near future. We do have some very fine prospects that we're going to announce to you sometime later, because we're in the running of some of the one or two or three of the finest, biggest new industries to be built in the United States. When the final figures in 1884 have been completed, it is safe to say that during the past year, capital investment in new and expanded plants will exceed $1,500,000,000, resulting in thousands of new jobs. Despite the success we have, I realize that unemployment remains higher than acceptable. We will continue to do everything we can to change that. I must again remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that a heavy metal state like Alabama, with steel and iron and coal, are the ones that suffered most during the Depression. But the U.S. steel matter, of course, is one for rejoicing in our state. I want to thank you for the work you did in passing the co-employee legislation that removes the threat of frivolous lawsuits in the workplace and returns the state of Alabama to a position that we can effectively compete with any state in the nation. I also want to say that the Workmen's Compensation Bill in Alabama has the finest benefits of any state in the union, save 5. And we have the best benefits for the working man than any state in the Southeast. For instance, in the law that we were going under, this law passed, if a man became totally disabled in Alabama, such as myself in a wheelchair, say a man who worked as a steel worker, maybe he's not trained to do anything else, after he received 300 weeks of 6 2/3 of his pay, he was cut off. Under this new law, they draw for life. And that's one thing that I want to be sure that happened in that new law. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a problem in this state and country with the matter of the drug traffic. I met the other day in New Orleans with several southern governors who were very concerned because the fact that in Florida, where the big push was on to the matter of drug traffickers and bringing it in from South and Central America, because of that push by the federals against this drug traffic, they've shifted over to Alabama and Louisiana and Mississippi in our area of the country. And we are having millions and millions of dollars every week coming through this state. We've asked the federal government, would they help us in this matter, to interdict within our territorial waters those that are bringing ships from other parts of the world, because every one of them, in my judgment, is bringing dope into this country, narcotic. It's turned out to be an $80 billion industry in the United States. Well, I did have some other things to say about that, but I see my time's running out. But I do want to say that we're going to try to get the 21-year-old drinking bill through, that I signed it before, it overrode my veto. I don't like the federal government saying we've got to pass it, but we need to pass it for our own safety here in Alabama, and I hope you will do that. Now, on the Alabama Trust Fund, my friends, I want to say this, that in my judgment, I hope the people of Alabama will adopt this that you passed in this body, both bodies, to submit on May the 14th for the people of Alabama. We have $347 million minus 4% that will go into this trust fund. We also claim $140 million from the federals because they've sold $280 million lease off of the 3 miles beyond our 3 miles. We're also going to sell some other leases in 7 to 8 months from now. We feel we'll have $200 or $300 more million to go into the general fund of Alabama through that trust fund. This trust fund brings all royalties, all leases in the future, and puts it in a permanent trust that can never be spent unless the people of Alabama want to spend it and vote to spend it. It'll be for your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And my judgment is going to grow to billions of dollars in the next 5 or 6 years. Now, in this trust fund, the governor serves on it, the state treasurer, and the finance director. And in the trust fund, I appoint 3 members. I want to tell you who I appointed tonight and who's accepted. Wynton Red Blunt, former member of the cabinet and the President Nixon, and also in his administration. Wynton Blunt, Louis Willie, Birmingham, that all you folks in Birmingham know. Jimmy Lee, the Buffalo Rock president in Birmingham. And Tom Drake, the speaker, appointed Joe Mokin of Huntsville, Alabama, one of the top high-tech industrialists in our state. And Governor Baxter appointed Julian Maddox of Luverne and Charlie Merriweather of Birmingham. And we are going to get together in the next few weeks to discuss the citizen counties, because the citizen counties have not been left out of the matter of oil and royalties and leases and royalties, for the simple reason that all the money goes to the general fund. And you people have charge of the general fund. And when that general fund gets to the point in time when we will find that there is a surplus to the extent that maybe a bond issue could be issued or whatever you want to do. But I want to tell you that the citizen counties of Alabama are in bad shape. and we in Alabama are bad in shape, and the federal government's in bad shape, and we know that. But we do know that the coming oil and gas in Northwest and in South Alabama and in the Gulf of Mexico and around the Mississippi Sound, that we're going to have a trust fund in the general fund of Alabama that in 10 years from now and 5 years from now is going to be able to solve every economic problem we have in government. And therefore, I hope that you approve those people that we three have appointed to serve on that trust fund that we voted on May the 4th. And I hope the people of Alabama who are listening tonight will vote this trust fund by putting all this oil and gas money in the future and that which we have now into a fund that can never be spent unless you vote to have it spent. It can only spend the investments brought by this money, and we have people on that trust fund that I named a moment ago are people that will give you the best investment return that you can get on the money in Alabama. My friends who are listening to me throughout the television audience, please vote yes on May 14th on this trust fund to save this money for the use of your children's education and whatever function of government Alabama engages in those days. I hope you'll do this because this is one of the best things the legislature of Alabama has ever presented to the people of Alabama, and it's going to last long after you and I are gone. Thank you very much.
Any further business to come before the joint session?
Game, and they all got Miami, so it's like quiet in there. There's one 49ers fan. He's yelling with everything. All right. Yo, he's going Montana. Oh, he's screaming, hey, oh, everything. But finally, this high roller, he leans over to me and says, hey, how much you got on the game? He says 100. The guy says 100 what? He says $100. The guy goes like this. He says, here, shut up.
We're going to pause for station identification. Thanks, Tony. Nice stuff. Come back and see us when you're in town. We'll be right back.
The Panadol Discovery.
Look.
Panadol.
Remember where we discovered Panadol?
Amsterdam, visiting your aunt.
The windmills.
The canals.
My headache.
Your aunt gave you Panadol.
Said doctors worldwide recommend it.
2 tablets are 1,000 milligrams strong and they won't upset your stomach.
By the time we had lunch, my headache was gone.
Discover world-proven Panadol. Capsules and now easy-to-swallow coated tablets. As strong a pain reliever as you can buy. And it won't upset your stomach.
Come with me into the sunset, Lipton Citrus Sunset, and know what great taste tastes like in herbal tea. Luscious oranges, delicate hibiscus, cinnamon, rose hips, rare Davana, blended together in Lipton Citrus Sunset for a taste like no other herbal tea. Come, drink in the sunset with Lipton Citrus Sunset, one of the very special teas from Lipton.
This one's for you, wherever you are. To say there's nothing we can't do, sharing from the heart.
This is Barry Manilow reminding you that someone's counting on you. This year, give the United Way.
This one's for you.
Working in an emergency room, I hear lies all day long.
I slipped and fell down the stairs.
It was an accident.
Wife battering is the most common crime in America and the most covered up. Women are afraid. They think it's safer to keep it a secret, but it's not. I know. I was a victim. The crime continues until you stop helping the criminal. So do me a favor. Get help before you have another accident.
Friday, don't miss the funniest all-time greatest TV-censored bloopers with Dick Clark and Hollywood's biggest stars. And on V at a new time, it's Charles and Diana in a royal wedding.
You must be joking.
But will Lydia poison the fun? Then Miami Vice takes off for Colombia and ends up with a case of...
Welcome home, fellas.
Friday.
All right. All right. 3, 2, 1. Foot-long chili dog is only 99 cents now at Dairy Queen. Again. 3, 2, 1. Foot-long chili dog is only 99 cents now at Dairy Queen. Ooh. Oh, okay. You're right. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. The foot-long chili dog is only 99 cents now at Dairy Queen.
Only 79 cents during our Sunday and a helmet sale. Collect all 26 and you're batting 1,000 at your Dairy Queen store. At Dairy Queen, we're tipping our hats to all you baseball fans with a 79-cent Sunday in a helmet sale. The Cubs, Twins, Indians, your favorite teams, your favorite Sunday.
In the land of Dairy Queen, we treat you right. We treat you right.